A weary single dad spotted a drenched nurse and her little daughter stranded in the rain, not knowing they had nowhere else to go. What he didn't realize was that offering help would change both of their lives forever. This is the story of how a single act of kindness on a stormy night became the start of something extraordinary. Before we dive in, tell us where in the world you're watching from. We love seeing how far our stories reach. Rain came down in sheets that night, the kind that erased the edges of things and made the road feel narrower than it was. Marcus Shaw kept both hands on the steering wheel, knuckles pale, eyes fixed ahead as his pickup rolled through Cascade Ridge. It was just past 11. The dashboard clock glowed blue. The radio was off. In the back seat, his son slept with his mouth open, one sneaker dangling off his foot. Kai had fallen asleep 5 minutes after they left the grocery store, the paper bag sliding against the floor with every turn. Marcus had meant to wake him when they pulled into the driveway, but the rain slowed everything, and for a few miles he just drove. He passed 7th Street, then the old diner with the neon sign flickering even though it was closed. As he eased toward the intersection near the bus depot, something on the sidewalk caught his eye. He slowed without meaning to. A woman stood under the narrow metal awning of a bus stop, her shoulders hunched. A little girl pressed against her side, both of them soaked despite the shelter. The woman was holding a canvas tote to her chest like it was the last dry thing she owned. The girl stared out at the road, unblinking, rain dripping from the ends of her hair. Marcus's foot hovered over the gas. The bus stop light buzzed. No bus. No other cars pulled over. "Don't," he muttered to himself, barely audible. He thought of the clock, of Kai asleep, of the long day that started before dawn and never seemed to end. He thought of the house waiting for him, quiet, dim, exactly the same every night. He drove past them. The image stayed with him anyway. The girl's shoes, too thin. The way the woman didn't wave or flag anyone down, just stood there like she'd already decided no one was stopping. Marcus exhaled hard, checked the rearview mirror. Kai shifted, sighed, then went still again. At the next light, he stopped completely. For a second, nothing happened. Then he flicked the turn signal, made a slow U-turn, tires hissing on wet pavement. By the time he pulled back alongside the bus stop, his chest felt tight, like he'd already agreed to something he couldn't take back. He rolled down the window. Rain sprayed in immediately. "Hey," he called, keeping his voice steady. "You two okay?" The woman flinched before she looked at him. Up close, Marcus could see how tired she was. Not sleepy tired, worn down. Her eyes moved fast, calculating. The girl didn't move at all. "We're fine," the woman said quickly. Marcus nodded like he expected that answer. "Bus running late?" The woman hesitated just a beat too long. Something like that. The rain intensified, drumming on the roof of the truck, filling the silence. Marcus glanced at the girl. "You cold?" he asked. The girl's chin lifted a fraction. She didn't answer. The woman's arm tightened around her shoulders. "She's okay." Then, quieter, "We're okay." Marcus opened the door and stepped out anyway. The rain soaked his jacket instantly. He walked around to the passenger side, motioning toward the truck. "I'm headed up Ridgeview. I can at least get you out of the rain, warm you up. No strings." Isabel studied him. Up close, Marcus noticed her hands shaking slightly, whether from cold or nerves, he couldn't tell. She looked past him, down the street, then back at the truck. Her jaw clenched. "I'm Isabel. This is Lily." Marcus nodded. "Marcus, my son's in the back. He's asleep." That seemed to matter. Isabel's shoulders dropped, just a little. "We don't have much, just..." She gestured to the bag. "That's fine. You don't need much for a ride." Isabel looked down at Lily. The girl nodded once, small and decisive. They climbed in. The cab filled with the smell of rain and damp fabric. Lily curled into the seat, hands folded in her lap, eyes darting to the back where Kai slept. Isabel kept her coat on, still clutching the tote. Marcus pulled back onto the road. For a few minutes, no one spoke. The wipers thumped back and forth, loud in the quiet cab. The heater hummed as Marcus turned it up. "Thank you," Isabel said eventually. Her voice was controlled, polite, like she'd practiced saying it without emotion. "Sure," Marcus replied. They passed the turn for downtown. Isabel noticed. "This is past the depot," she said. "Yeah," Marcus said. "You heading somewhere specific?" She swallowed. "Not really." The word hung there. Marcus nodded, eyes still on the road. "You can dry off at my place," he said. "Get warm, figure out next steps." Isabel stiffened. "That's not necessary." Didn't say it was, just said you could. She studied him again, more carefully this time. For how long? Marcus didn't answer right away. He turned onto a quieter street, houses set back behind wet lawns, porch lights glowing faintly through the rain. For tonight, he said. Then we'll see. Isabel looked away, out the window. Lily leaned closer to the heater vent, fingers stretched toward the warm air. They pulled into Marcus's driveway just before midnight. The house looked exactly the way it always did. Small, dark, steady. Marcus killed the engine and listened to the sudden quiet, rain ticking on the hood. I don't want to be a problem, Isabel said softly. Marcus opened his door. You're not. Inside, the house smelled like laundry detergent and the soup Marcus had reheated earlier. He lifted Kai gently from the back seat, careful not to wake him. Kai stirred, murmured something, then went limp against Marcus's shoulder. Isabel watched closely, something unreadable crossing her face. There's a spare room, Marcus said, nodding down the hall. Bathroom's there. Towels under the sink. Isabel hesitated again, then stepped inside. Lily followed, shoes squelching on the mat. Thank you, Isabel said, and this time her voice wavered. Marcus set Kai down in his room, tucking a blanket around him the way he always did. When he came back out, Isabel was standing in the hallway, unsure where to put the bag. You can leave it there, Marcus said. She nodded, then finally let go of it. The rain kept falling outside, steady and relentless. Inside the house, 3 strangers stood in the quiet, caught between what had been and what came next. Morning didn't arrive so much as it seeped in. The rain had softened into a steady drizzle, tapping against the windows like it wasn't done saying its piece. Marcus woke before his alarm, the way he always did, staring at the ceiling for a few seconds before remembering there were other people in the house. The realization landed heavy. He sat up, rubbed his face, listened. No voices, no crying, just the hum of the refrigerator and the faint sound of running water somewhere down the hall. Marcus pulled on a sweatshirt and stepped out. The bathroom door was cracked open. Steam curled into the hallway, carrying the scent of soap that wasn't his. A child's humming floated out, off-key but steady. In the kitchen, the light was on. Isabel stood at the counter, hair damp and pulled back loosely, sleeves rolled up as she rinsed a mug in the sink. She froze when she heard him. Morning, Marcus said. She turned, startled, then nodded. I hope it's okay. Lily woke up early. I figured... She gestured vaguely. Coffee? That's fine, Marcus said. Help yourself. She relaxed just enough to let out a breath. I found cereal, too. Lily ate a bowl. Good, Marcus said. Did she sleep all right? Isabel's eyes flicked toward the hallway. Like a rock. Marcus poured himself coffee and leaned against the counter. Up close, in the daylight, Isabel looked younger than he'd thought the night before. Still tired, but not worn in the same way. Alert, watching. She's in the bathroom, Isabel added. I told her not to wake your son. Kai's hard to wake, Marcus said. You'd have to try. Almost on cue, a door creaked open. Kai shuffled into the kitchen, hair sticking up, rubbing one eye. He stopped short when he saw Isabel. Then Lily appeared behind him, towel around her shoulders, looking suddenly shy. Marcus cleared his throat. Hey, buddy. Kai glanced between the 2 girls. Who's that? This is Isabel, Marcus said, and Lily. They stayed over because of the rain. Kai accepted this without question, as kids often do. He nodded once, then looked at Lily. I'm Kai. Lily stared at him for a second, then held up the towel like a cape. I can fly! Kai's face lit up. No way! Yes way! They took off down the hallway, towel dragging behind Lily, Kai laughing as he chased her. Their voices faded into the living room. Isabel watched them go, something tight easing from her shoulders. They get along fast, she said. Yeah, Marcus replied. He doesn't talk much at school, but at home, he shrugged. Isabel nodded, understanding without asking. They stood there for a moment, the kitchen suddenly too quiet. I should explain, Isabel said, about last night. Marcus lifted his mug. You don't have to. I want to, she said quickly. She paused, choosing her words. I didn't miss a bus, not exactly. Marcus waited. I lost my job a few weeks ago, nursing. After that, things unraveled fast. Marcus didn't interrupt. I was staying with someone. That ended. I thought I could manage until I found something else, but... She gave a small, humorless laugh. Turns out optimism doesn't pay rent. She looked at him then, really looked at him. I don't expect anything from you. We'll leave today. Marcus took a slow sip of coffee. You don't have anywhere to go. Isabel's jaw tightened. I'll figure it out. That's what you were doing last night? Figuring it out? Silence stretched between them. Lily and Kai's laughter echoed faintly from the other room. I'm not asking to stay. I just don't want... She stopped herself, eyes flicking toward the hallway. I don't want Lily to think this is normal. Marcus set his mug down. Neither do I. Isabel blinked, surprised. He continued, quieter. But sometimes things fall apart faster than you can explain to a kid. Doesn't mean you failed. Her eyes softened just for a second, then she looked away. You can stay a few days, Marcus said. Get back on your feet. A few days turns into a problem, Isabel replied. Only if we let it, Marcus said. I've got a spare room. It's empty anyway. The word empty hung there longer than it needed to. Isabel noticed. She didn't comment. I'll contribute. Food, cleaning, childcare, whatever. Marcus shook his head. You don't owe me anything. I need to, for my own sanity. He considered her for a moment, then nodded. All right. Later that morning, after pancakes eaten off mismatched plates and a brief argument between the kids about whose turn it was to sit closest to the window, Marcus drove Kai to school. Lily pressed her face to the glass as they passed the playground. You live here? She asked Marcus. For now, he said. She nodded, satisfied. When they returned, Isabel was standing on the porch, phone in hand, frustration written across her face. No luck? Marcus asked. She shook her head. Every place wants references, or a start date I can't manage, or... She stopped. I'll keep trying. You can use the computer, said Marcus, if you want. Thank you. The days settled into something tentative but functional. Isabel sent applications. Lily colored at the table. Marcus fixed a loose cabinet hinge that had been bothering him for months. By late afternoon, the rain had finally stopped. Isabel stood by the window, watching the clouds break apart. We should go soon, she said, not turning around. Marcus leaned against the doorway. You can stay tonight, too. She closed her eyes briefly. Okay. That night, after the kids were asleep, in separate rooms but somehow still whispering to each other through the wall, Marcus lay awake, listening to unfamiliar sounds in his house. Footsteps, a cough, the soft creak of the floor. It wasn't uncomfortable. That surprised him most. Down the hall, Isabel sat on the edge of the bed in the spare room, folding Lily's clothes with care, placing each one neatly into the drawer like this might last. Neither of them said it out loud, but both felt it. One night had already turned into more. Days slipped into weeks without anyone officially marking when that happened. There was no conversation where they agreed on it, no moment where Marcus said, you can stay, and Isabel said, we will. It just settled. Mornings started earlier. Lily woke before the sun most days, padding down the hallway in socks that never quite stayed on her feet. Sometimes she climbed into Kai's room and whispered until he woke up. Sometimes she ended up in the kitchen, sitting at the table with a pencil, drawing the same house over and over. Isabel kept a small notebook in her bag, pages already soft from use. Every morning after the kids left for school, she sat at the table and made calls. Her voice was calm, professional, the way it had probably always been at work. When she hung up, she wrote things down, crossed them out, then moved on to the next number. Marcus noticed she never complained, not when the phone calls went nowhere, not when Lily asked why they didn't have a house anymore. She answered gently, redirecting, promising nothing she couldn't deliver. By the third week, Isabel started picking up Kai from school. The first time, Marcus hesitated in the driveway, keys in hand. You don't have to, he said. I want to, if that's okay. Kai had run to her without hesitation, backpack bouncing. She knows my teacher's name, he told Marcus proudly that night, and the rules for kickball. Marcus didn't know what to say to that. The house changed in small, undeniable ways. Shoes lined up by the door instead of scattered. Fresh fruit appeared in the fridge. The living room stopped feeling like a place people passed through and started feeling like a place they stayed. Some evenings, Isabel cooked. Simple meals. Pasta, rice, chicken baked with whatever spices she had on hand. She never asked Marcus what he liked. She watched what he took seconds of. After dinner, the kids did homework at the table. Isabel moved between them, answering questions, smoothing over frustration before it turned into tears. Marcus watched from the sink, drying plates slowly, something unfamiliar tightening in his chest. Once, Lily scraped her knee on the driveway. It wasn't bad, but she cried anyway, loud and dramatic. Isabel was there in seconds, kneeling, steady hands checking the cut. "It's okay," she said calmly. "Look at me. Breathe." Lily sniffed, nodded, quieted. Marcus had to look away. Later that night, he found the first aid kit open on the counter, gauze neatly folded back in place. Isabel had restocked it. "Habit," she said when he noticed. "Hard to turn off." "From work?" he asked. She paused. "Yeah." That was all she said. Some nights, after the kids were asleep, Marcus and Isabel sat at opposite ends of the couch, not touching, a quiet understanding between them. The TV played shows neither of them followed. Sometimes they talked about nothing: traffic, school fundraisers, the weather. Sometimes they sat in silence. Once, Marcus fell asleep there. He woke to the sound of a blanket being placed over him. When he opened his eyes, Isabel was standing nearby, already turning away like she hadn't meant to wake him. "Sorry," she whispered. "It's fine," he said. "Thank you." She nodded and disappeared down the hall. Marcus didn't sleep after that. The kids bonded quickly, the way kids do when they sense stability forming. They made up games, built forts, argued over crayons, and made up just as fast. One afternoon, Marcus came home to find them curled up together on the floor, asleep mid-game. Isabel sat nearby, reading. "They didn't even make it to the couch," she said softly. Marcus smiled before he could stop himself. He noticed other things too. Isabel paid attention. She remembered the brand of cereal Kai liked, the way Marcus took his coffee, the nights when the house felt heavier. On those nights, she kept things light, talked more, filled the space without crowding it. One evening, as they were cleaning up, Isabel found a framed photo tucked behind a stack of mail on the counter. She froze. Marcus saw it from across the room. He crossed over, took it from her gently. The photo showed him younger, arm around a woman with dark hair pulled back, both of them laughing at something just outside the frame. "I'm sorry," Isabel said immediately. "I didn't mean to." "It's okay," Marcus said. She hesitated. "Is that—" "My wife," he said. "Her name was Anna." Isabel nodded slowly. "She looks kind." "She was," Marcus said. He put the photo back where it had been, but this time he didn't hide it. Isabel didn't ask how long it had been. She didn't ask what happened. She just said she'd be proud of him, nodding toward the hallway where Kai slept. Marcus swallowed. "Yeah." That night, after everyone was asleep, Marcus stood in the kitchen staring at the photo, thinking about how quiet the house used to be, about how he told himself quiet was safer. Down the hall, Isabel lay awake too, staring at the ceiling, listening to the same house sounds. She pressed her hand to her chest, feeling a calm she didn't trust yet. Neither of them said it, but both of them knew. Whatever this was, it was no longer temporary. The first real crack showed up over something small. It was a Tuesday evening, just after 7. Kai had a spelling test the next day and had decided, loudly, that it was impossible. He slammed his pencil down, chair scraping back. "I hate this," he said. "I'm bad at it." "You're not bad at it," Marcus said automatically, already tired. Kai shook his head hard. "I am. I always mess up." Marcus opened his mouth to say something reassuring, something he'd said 100 times before, but the words came out flat. Kai's shoulders tightened instead of relaxing. Isabel, who had been rinsing dishes, turned around. She crouched beside Kai, bringing herself level with him. "Hey," she said gently, "look at me." Kai didn't at first. She waited. "You know what practice actually means?" she asked. Kai shrugged. "It means you're allowed to be bad at something for a while. That's the whole point." Kai looked at her then. "Really?" "Really," she said. "And you're not even bad. You're just tired." She slid the paper back in front of him. "Let's do 2 more words, then we take a break." Kai hesitated, then nodded. "Okay." Marcus watched from the counter, something twisting uncomfortably in his chest. Gratitude, yes, but something else too, a sharp awareness of where his own patience had ended. Later that night, after the kids were asleep, Marcus stood at the sink, staring at nothing. Isabel dried the last plate and set it in the cabinet. "You okay?" she asked. "Yeah," Marcus said quickly. Then, after a pause, "I didn't mean to shut him down earlier." "I know," Isabel said. She didn't sound judgmental, just observant. "You're tired." He exhaled. "Feels like I'm always tired." She leaned against the counter across from him. "That kind of tired doesn't go away with sleep." Marcus gave a small, humorless smile. "You're a doctor now, too." She smiled back faintly. "Nurse, remember?" He nodded. Silence settled between them, heavier than usual. "I should tell you something," Isabel said. Marcus looked up. She folded her hands together, then unfolded them. About my job. You don't have to, he said. I know, but if I'm staying here, if Lily's staying here, I don't want it to be on half-truths. Marcus didn't interrupt. I didn't get laid off, she said. I was terminated. He absorbed that. For what? She looked down. A patient. Marcus waited. He came in late one night, she continued. ER was overloaded. He'd been sent home twice already. The third time, he was worse. Her voice stayed steady, but her fingers tightened together. The attending was stretched thin. Orders got delayed. He kept asking for help. I knew something was wrong. She swallowed. I made a call. Marcus frowned. That sounds like doing your job. It wasn't my call to make, she said. I bypassed protocol, pushed for imaging that wasn't approved yet. And? And it saved his life, she said. Internal bleed. If I'd waited. She shook her head. But I stepped on the wrong toes. Cost too much. Made people look bad. Marcus stared at her. So they fired you for that? Officially for insubordination, Isabel said. Unofficially for not staying in my lane. Silence stretched. Marcus said carefully, You did the right thing. Isabel let out a breath she'd been holding. It didn't feel right afterward. His family sent letters. Administration sent lawyers. She looked up at Marcus then, eyes clear but guarded. Once you're labeled a risk, it sticks. Marcus nodded slowly. That why things fell apart so fast? Yes, she said simply. He leaned back against the counter. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Isabel hesitated. Because people say they respect it, and then they don't. Marcus didn't respond right away. He thought of the way she'd handled Kai earlier, the calm, the decisiveness. My wife died in a hospital, he said suddenly. Isabel froze. Car accident, Marcus continued, voice even. She made it through surgery, then something went wrong overnight. Infection. They caught it too late. Isabel didn't speak. I spent months replaying every decision, every person who walked in and out of that room. He finally looked at her. If someone had broken protocol for her, I'd want to know. Isabel's eyes filled, but she didn't let the tears fall. She nodded once. Thank you. From that night on, something shifted. Not into romance, not yet, but into honesty. They talked more. Not constantly, just enough. About work, about Lily's school, about Kai's quiet streak. About the way grief showed up when you didn't expect it. One evening, Isabel found Marcus sitting on the edge of Kai's bed after lights out, staring at the wall. He okay? She asked softly from the doorway. Yeah, just needed a minute. She nodded. Me too, sometimes. She didn't ask him to explain. The tension between them grew in small, charged moments, a hand brushing another at the sink, a look held too long across the table, then both pulling back, careful. One night, the power went out during a storm. The kids slept through it. Marcus lit candles in the living room. Isabel sat on the couch, knees tucked up, watching the flames. This is how it started, she said quietly. Marcus glanced at her. What? Losing everything, one small thing at a time. He studied her face in the candlelight. And this? He asked. What's this? Isabel looked at him then, really looked. I don't know, she said honestly, but it scares me how much I don't want to lose it. The power came back on with a hum, lights flickering to life. Neither of them moved. Neither of them crossed the space between them. But something had already crossed a line, and they both felt it. The offer came on a Thursday afternoon. Isabel was at the kitchen table, phone pressed to her ear, voice low. Marcus came in through the back door and caught only fragments. Yes, I understand. Start date. Before she ended the call and sat very still. Good news? Marcus asked. She didn't look up. Maybe. That night, after the kids were asleep, she finally told him. A clinic 2 hours south, steady hours, benefits, housing assistance, for staff only. She would have to relocate within a month. I haven't accepted, she said quickly. I just needed to hear it out. Marcus nodded. His chest felt hollow. That's good, he said, because it was true, and because it hurt. He didn't ask why she hadn't told him sooner. 2 days later, Marcus ran into an old coworker at the hardware store. Small talk turned sideways. A name came up, a hospital, a lawsuit that never made the news. Shame, the guy said. Nurse pushed too hard. Family threatened to sue anyway. Marcus drove home in silence. That night, he waited until the house was quiet. You didn't tell me everything, he said. Isabel stiffened. I told you what mattered. You told me what made you look brave, not what made it messy. Her eyes flashed. You're going digging? I didn't have to. It found me. The argument didn't explode. It collapsed. Words fell short. Trust thinned. Isabel packed the tote that night. Not everything, just enough. I can't stay where I'm a risk. Not to you, not to Kai. Marcus watched Lily sleep, then looked away. When were you going to leave? Isabel swallowed. Before it hurt more. She left before sunrise. By the time Kai woke up, the spare room was empty. The house was quiet again, but now the quiet knew their names. The silence settled fast. Marcus kept the routines because Kai needed them. Breakfast at the same time, school drop-off, work, dinner. But the house felt wrong, like furniture had been moved and never put back. Kai asked for Lily the first night, then the second. By the third, he stopped asking and started going quiet. That scared Marcus more than questions. 2 weeks later, he got a call from Kai's teacher. Nothing serious, just concern. Less talking, more staring out the window. Marcus drove home after that and sat in the truck for a long time. Engine off, hands on the wheel. Rainless sky reflected in the windshield. He thought about all the ways he'd convinced himself he was protecting his son by staying guarded. Isabel rebuilt somewhere else. A small apartment near the clinic, early shifts, long days. Lily adjusted faster than she did. Kids always did. Isabel kept busy, because stopping meant thinking. They ran into each other by accident on a Saturday morning, outside a grocery store halfway between their lives. Lily spotted Kai first and ran. The kids collided, laughing, talking over each other like no time had passed. Marcus and Isabel stood a few feet apart. You look okay, Marcus said. I am, Isabel replied. Then, after a beat, are you? He hesitated. I'm trying. They didn't apologize, not yet. But when they left, both of them glanced back once, already feeling the weight of what still hadn't been said. They didn't plan the next meeting. It happened because Lily asked, and Kai echoed her without realizing it was a question that mattered. They met at a park late one afternoon, neutral ground. The kids ran ahead, already arguing about the swings. Marcus and Isabel sat on opposite ends of the same bench at first. I was wrong, Marcus said, staring straight ahead. Not for being cautious, but for letting fear decide everything. Isabel nodded. I should have told you the whole truth before you had to hear it somewhere else. Silence. Then quieter. I didn't want you to look at me differently. I already did, just not the way you thought. She looked at him then, really looked. I'm tired of surviving, she said. I want something that lasts, even if it's hard. Marcus exhaled. Me too. They didn't rush it. They started small. Dinners with the kids, shared school pickups when schedules lined up, conversations that didn't dodge the sharp edges. The kids noticed first. They always did. One evening, as Lily and Kai built a lopsided tower on the living room floor, Isabel reached for Marcus's hand without thinking. He didn't let go. Neither of them said the word love. They chose it anyway. 2 years passed without ceremony. Life didn't smooth out, but it steadied. Mornings were loud again. Shoes by the door belonged to 4 people. Calendars overlapped. Arguments happened and ended. The house learned new rhythms. Marcus proposed on an ordinary evening after the kids were asleep. No speech, just a question asked in the kitchen while the kettle boiled. Isabel laughed first, then she cried, then she said yes. They married at a small courthouse outside Cascade Ridge. Kai held the rings in a pocket that was too big for his suit. Lily wore a dress she'd picked herself and waved at everyone like it was her job. Afterward, they went home, ate takeout at the table, let the kids stay up too late. Later that night, when the house finally went quiet, Marcus and Isabel stood by the window. Rain had started again, light this time, almost polite. Funny, Isabel said softly, how it began. Marcus nodded. Yeah. He reached for her hand. She leaned into him, not because she needed to be held, but because she wanted to be. Outside, the rain kept falling. Inside, the house stayed warm, full, alive. And that's how one simple act of kindness changed the lives of a single dad, a brave nurse, and their children forever. If this story touched your heart, make sure to subscribe to Soul Strength Stories for more stories that inspire and move you. Don't forget to like, share, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a story that could brighten your day.